First thing first, I will end is by adding a sub bass. For this bass is by using flex. Choose by using a silent one. Hey guys, I'm Simple Muide. Welcome to the episode 2 of How to Make Progressive House 2021 series. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make Progressive House bass. Before you begin, I just want to tell you, if you haven't checked out last episode about making chords, make sure you check it out so you have a better understanding of what I'm doing later in the Progressive House track. So without wasting any time, let's jump into the FL Studio. Alright, so before we begin, make sure you have a chord progression that have a bass line, so we can follow the bass by layering the bass later. So in last episode, I have created the chords, which is this one. So this progression have the bass line here. We can start layering the bass now. If you want to know how I create the chords, you can go to last episode where I show how I create the chords and the melody. So here is the bass. Alright, so the first thing first I will end is by adding a sub bass by using a plugin called Citrus. So in this Citrus, I use a preset called sub bass. So this sub bass sound, I remove all the high frequency, create some space for other bass later and for the leads and the chords. As you can hear, I remove all the high frequency and it sounds like this. And I add a sausage fattener to boost up to add some saturation and increase the volume to make it sound powerful and more thick together. So the next layer I will add for this bass is by using flex. And the sound I choose is called Rhino Charge. And this is the raw sound. Right, so for this bass, I kind of want to make it sound high in the mix and not just the low. So I add an EQ to remove all the bass frequency and I just leave the high frequency. So the bass is still audible in the high frequency to make everything sound even. Alright, so for the next layer, I choose by using a silent one. And this is the raw sound. For this, bass 2 kind of want just the mid and not the high and not the low. So what I do is by adding an EQ to remove the high and the low, then leave just the low, mid and the mid sound. This bass is a bit thin, so I add this to add some distortion to the bass. Right, so for the next layer, I choose also from silent one. And it sounds like this without the effects. So for this bass, also want the mid only and not the high and not the low end. So I add an EQ to remove the high and the low end to just leave the mid sound. So for the last layer, I add a bass and I call it the movement bass in Progressive House. So this is different from other bass that I just showed just now because it kind of like one octave down and one octave up to create the movement of the bass to sound more emotional later in the drop. So it sounds like this without the effects. Right, so to process the bass, I add an EQ to remove some low end because I want to leave space for the sub and reduce some of the treble, and it sounds like this. so it sounds a bit too quiet and too soft, so I add a sausage fattener to boost up the saturation. After everything sounds together without the bass effect, is something like this. So you might ask, what is a bass channel? Bass channel is basically all the bass link up to one channel, so I can add effects and control all the sound together at once. In the bass channel, the first thing first I will add is by adding a kickstart to sidechain it. So you might ask me why I put the kickstart at the end, because I want the sound to go through all the effect first and only sidechain it, so that it will sound more clean, it will not sound muddy later in the drop. So the second plugin I will add is an EQ to remove some of the low frequency and reduce some of the treble. Nice. So for the next plugin, I'll add an OTT to boost some of the low and reduce some of the high. So you might ask, what is an OTT? An OTT is a multi-band compressor that everything above this back color area will be increased and everything below will be compressed. So this is the result after adding an OTT. The next thing I will add is a limiter, which I use the compressor. So if you don't want to use the limiter, make sure you increase the ceiling to maximum so it will not act as a limiter. And I use a compressor to make the bass sound a bit glued together and more thick together. So for the next thing I will add is called D-Blue Type Stop, which is a free plugin that you can download on the internet. And I love this plugin because it has an effect like a pitch bend. This is the button that I use, and I automate this button in the drop. So in the drop, I automate this trigger button and it sounds like this. So everything sounds together with the bass that I just explained just now, something like this. And the video ends here, and make sure you check the next episode about how I make the leads in progressive house music. I hope to see you in the next episode. Bye bye.